Earl Miller. So I'm going with Charlie, and naturally I'd get out of his house and they had a store and they used to sell the ice cream they made, popsicles. In fact, I used to be in the back there helping them to make the popsicles. So they made them first, the ice cream, and freeze them. Then you take them from there and dip them in the chocolate and put them back in the freezer right away. So I used to go back over to Charlie and help him dip them in the chocolate. And a couple hours, we'd do about 400 or 500 of them. And you'd pack them in boxes, like 12 in a box. Mm-hmm. And to them it was a business, you see. You had a couple of trucks and you'd go to either Chester and all the towns along McVeigh Boulevard. And I used to go with him. So one day there was a wedding in the family. So Charlie's sister, she was about a year younger than me. Her name was Dolly. Well, we called her Dolly. I think her name was Dorothy, something like that. Well, anyway, there was a wedding in the house, so we're sitting on the steps. And, I'd go down to see her because she wasn't allowed out of the house, she had to take care of the store. And I'd go there and spend an hour or so with her at nights in the store. And 10:30, I said, well, I'll leave. I gotta go to work tomorrow and all that stuff, So this one day there was a wedding. I don't know who was getting married. So we're sitting on the step watching everybody dancing, carrying on. The place was jam-packed, it was tight. All weddings used to be in a house. There were very few people around the halls in them days. So this Dolly said to me, she says, we're next. That's all I had to hear. We're next. She didn't see me no more.
Ran you off fast, huh? So how the heck did Aunt Lil trap you if every time the girl mentioned wedding you were off and running?
Well, a couple of years go by from this time. It was like 1938, something like that. So this friend of mine, Carl, he says, I met a girl, and we want to go on a date, but we need another guy. So I says, well, what are you telling me for? He says, well, don't you want to go on a date? So to please this guy, I says, all right, I'll go. So here the date was supposed to be, I was supposed to be with my wife. But here I went with this other girl, I forget what her name was. And we went out, went to Woodside Park, and we had a good time. And all the while, this other guy, Frankie's with my wife. So Woodside Park was, do you remember that day?
Yeah, I remember Woodside Park.
Amusement park. Then we spent the day there, we had a good time. And naturally these girls had to be home. It was at the age where, 6, 7 o'clock, I went to see you home. So we had to drive them home. So we're coming home, so this friend of mine that asked me to go on this date after we dropped off Frankie, he said to me, he says, you were with the wrong girl. So I said, what's the difference? I'm with the wrong girl. Who was I supposed to be? He says, you were supposed to be with Lil. I said, well, maybe we'll have a date another time and I'll take her out another time. That's all I had to say. Because she wanted to know if I wanted to go out with her, you see. So a couple days later, Carl comes over. He says, I have another date set up. He says, and Lil wants to go out with you. Oh, okay. Oh, God, that was easy to go with, So we went down. It was always on a Sunday when we went out. And sure enough, that's how I met my wife. So we went out that day, went to different places, and she was allowed to stay out a little later in my life. And the other girl was later. So it was just the two of us, the four of us rather, Carl and his girl, and me and my wife. So I went this one time, took her out, and she says, when will I see you again? I says, I don't know, it's up to you. She says, well, there's a nice picture playing down at the Nixon Theater I'd like to see it. I says, all right, we'll go and see the picture. So there's always the four of us. We'll pick them up, get out of movies. From there, go to an ice cream parlor, you know. In them days, with $1, you went into the movies, your girlfriend and yourself. You come out of movies, went into an ice cream parlor, and you come home with about a dime out of that $1.
And sometimes even a place setting of dishes.
Well, yeah, they give you that in the movie. My wife made about 3 of them.
Was it the Mayfair?
She made one set, and it was a movies on 52nd Street.
The Cross Keys?
No,
No.
Nick's Cross Keys was 60.
that was 60th. No,
State?
this was near Dryde Avenue. It was-
State.
No, State was a 52nd Chestnut.
Oh.
This was a 52nd and Why Lucy? What the heck was it called? Frolic, I think it was called. Frolic. Then there was another one, 52nd and Media. That was called the Adelphi. So, dish night, my wife, this is after we got married. Dish night, she'd go to Frolic, pick up the one piece of the set there. Then you had to go a whole year to get a 52-piece set, service for 8. So she's going there one night, then like a Monday night there, then a Wednesday night she'd go to Delphi and get it. And at the end of the year, she had 2 52-piece sets. And she had them for the longer. In fact, there's still some of the pieces at home now. And then what was this? She went to another movies and she made about 4 sets. All right. And that was the only, you know, televisions were coming out. In fact, she started the sets even before we got married.
We got to keep taking you back because there's a lot of people that don't know this information.
Don't know which.
Tell us about your brothers and sisters and you and your young lives and what happened, that kind of stuff.
Where he's worked.
Well,
Now, from what I understand, the old man used to have, my father used to have a race car, right?
all right, I was about...
Do you remember anything about his race car and the
yes.
tormenting of the cops that they used to do?
Oh, don't tell me about that. I know that. The race car, I must have been about 10 years old when I had it. See, your father always differed with cars.
Yeah.
And my father would always let him bring a car in and work on it. He'd bring a car, and most of the times would be a Model T Ford. And all winter long, he'd strip it down and rebuild it. And that's how he learned to be a mechanic. That's how he learned it, you know. Your best mechanics, that's how they become mechanics. Same way with, you remember the phrase hot rod?
Yeah.
Well, that came from people like your father. Like these rich kids would go out and buy a new car. Then they'd take the car to a detail place. Only they didn't call it detail places, so they called it another name. And they would take the hood and rebuild the hood of the car because the motor would be built with a high carburetor filter, you know, and then the hood would cover that. And if the guy didn't have money, he'd take the hood off and the motor would be exposed. But to have a finished product, the guy that had the money would take it to the detail place and then make a new hood, press it out and put it on. And things like that in them days cost like $200-300 just to have that one thing done. Then they started to streamline the cars. Before the car was, the fender was complete, you know, it was complete and was straight. The wheel would go around, no mud would hit the side of the car. So what did the kids do? They start streamlining the fenders. They'd take the fenders and have them rebuilt and then put them on a car. The only ones who was able to do that was the ones that had money.
Take the running boards off.
Took the running boards off, and instead of the fender coming down like that, it came down like that, but then the side of it was cut in. But then rainy days, muddy days, the mud would splash up, and if you were behind that car, you got splashed with that mud. Then they come out with these flaps that they put on there. And all that started from the hot rod days.
What new car cost then?
Well, back in the 30s, you could buy a brand new car, like a Plymouth or Ford. Now, $500 the second year. You went down and bought a new car, it cost you around $700-800 for a Plymouth or a Ford or a Chevy,
like that.
something like that. You went for a Buick, it went about $900 to $1,100. And then they started to come out with features. Now that, no radio, no heaters, air conditioning wasn't even thought of in them days.
Yeah.
But then the first thing they come out with was the heaters. Oh boy, that was a luxury. You get in the car in the winter time, start it up, turn the heater on after the water got warm, boy, it was comfortable. But before that, we went down ashore in the winter time, because a lot of times I used to take my father down there. We had no heater in the car, and it's winter time, boy, you had to go like this while you're driving, keep your feet warm.
Keep it from freezing up on you.
So, we had that 37 Buick, bought it new, but no heater in it, and no radio. $1,100.
Did you have the crank start that then?
No,
When,
it was
when
self-start.
did they stop the crank start?
All self-starters came out around 1926, 27, yeah, they come out. It was fairly
So in other words,
early.
any car that you had a crank was earlier than that?
Oh yeah, there was cars, most of your Model
19.
Ts you had a crank.
Yeah.
Then,
When they first came out with this, with the automatic starter, did they still have the crank on there?
oh yeah, they
also,
had the
right?
crank in case the,
Oh, okay, that's what
the
I'm thinking.
batteries, the batteries never held up. See? And
Were they in the
He was-
1930s also, the crank, they still had it there?
some cars had it because that was an option.
Yeah.
But things were getting better and better as it went along. See, the problem was electrical system in the cars. And if you went out and bought the best battery, in them days the best battery was like $25, $30, and that was considered the Exide or the Willard. They were the two top batteries. But then you could go to Pep Boys or any of them other stores, you can get batteries for $8, $9. But you wouldn't get a year out of it. The Willard, you can get Willard and the Exide, you were good for 2-3 years out of them. But the big problem then, we only had a generator on the car, and they never held up. And you always had to keep replacing them until the alternator came out. Now the alternator came out around, I think it was 39, 40, something like that. Because when we had our 37 Buick, that just had the regular generator, 6-volt job. Then when they come out with the alternator, then it went to 12 volts. That meant you could have a radio, you could have a heater, you could have air conditioning. And yet air conditioning really didn't hit the cars, I think it was in the late 50s,
Yeah.
60s, something like that, when that became popular in the cars. And then they had the tires with the tubes in them.
You remember
So,
that?
yeah, you
Yeah, we remember them.
And you went to buy tires. The cheapest tire today was much, much better than the best tires back in them years. And the best tire in them years were like Goodyear, US Royal, Goodrich. But you never got full life out of them because the tires would crack. The rubber would crack for some reason.
Get hard. It's vulcanized rubber today.
Well, what would happen, it would get hard. If the rubber cracked itself and didn't go through the core, well, you're all right. But eventually it was going to go through the core. And when it would go through the core,
We would pinch
then
the
it would pinch the tube, and
tube.
you would always have it flat. So, what year was when they come out with the tubeless tires? So everybody starts saying, so what's the difference? You put a tubeless tire in, the tire's going to crack and all that. Well, the early tubeless tires did crack a little bit.
Yeah, the tube
And
inside
they would
besides,
blow.
right?
And then they would put a tube inside.
Right.
Because I bought the first tubeless set of tires I think they cost me like $22 a piece. And that was supposed to be a good make, a US Royal. So that was the first tubeless tires I bought, but they cracked. The rubber cracked. And US Royal was noted for cracking. They still didn't perfect the rubber on the side of the tires. But then all of a sudden, it seemed like overnight, tires were good. It just seemed like overnight. You put
They
it.
started getting years
In
of
fact,
wear.
I even bought two tires from Pep Boys. The ones that they always advertise, that name, I forget the name of the title on that tire. Cornell. I couldn't wear them out. And they were tubeless when I first bought them. And I had them on the front of the car too. And they last and last and last. I must have got like, well, last and last and last. They must have had them on it for a good 3 years. But I was never a driver where you sway the car when you go around the corner.
Yeah.
Like, I always
Oh,
drove
these-
sensible, because I knew whatever happened to that car, I would have to pay to fix it. You'd be surprised at people that drive their cars,
Yeah.
and
like
they
they're on a
drive their
racetrack.
cars as if the car belongs to a company. Oh, well, whatever happens, the company's going to fix it. But you're the company. You're the guy that owns that car. You're the company. If it breaks, you got to fix it. And the way that was put to me, one time, I broke the motor mounts on my Ford, out of 53 Ford. And I started to get wild with it, because the car was a fast car, V8 engine, and was a stick shift, you could get away from people, and I took advantage of that. So, doing that, like this hot shot start, I broke the motor mounts on the car. So every time I pull out, especially if my wife was in the car, it felt like the motor was going to come up on the seat with it. That's the kind of noise it would make. So, but I didn't know it was the motor mounts. So one day I went down to see my father, and then when I left him, it was about 2 in the afternoon. So I knew this colored fellow had a shop there on 57th Street. I went into him. I said, Jesus, I hear a funny noise when I pull out. It just seems like I'm going to drop right in the middle of the street. So he got in, he drove it, and he came back. He says, you need motor mounts. I said, do you have them? He said, well, I have to pick them up.
No, I don't think he uses it.
No, I don't need. He said, I have to pick them up. I said, well, pick me up a pair, and I says, I'll bring the car in tomorrow. So he picked up a pair, and I brought the car the following day, and he put these motor mounts on. Man, what a difference. I says, how come that breaks? He says, how come? He says,
How do you-
you're probably driving that car as if it belongs to a company. He says, you don't want these things that happen to have colorful colors. I says, you don't want this stuff? He says, respect that car. Drive it carefully. He says, and then you don't have to take this money out. You could use it for something else. That's how I learned to be careful.
So anyhow, I think Chazzy wants you to talk about, you guys used to go junking.
No, anything about the family. That's all.
Well, the ones that went junking was mostly your father, Louie, and Jerry. I did very, very little. I don't think I did.
Was this at the time of depression?
Oh,
Is that when this-
yes. Yeah.
this
Everybody
came
used
about?
to, everybody, all the kids in our neighborhood, come 5 o'clock in the morning, you saw everybody going out with their wagons.
So you'd have to go to other neighborhoods, right?
Oh, yeah, you went to the neighborhood where the trash was put out. And you went along and
So
whatever
exactly
was,
the day. What if
whatever
the guy
was,
used a truck?
whatever was paying the big price, that's what you would go for.
Yeah, aluminum.
See, now
or
newspaper
iron.
never paid a good price, but when it did, you went around and you scooped up the. But you get customers rather than go junking from street to street. You get customers and people, you say, "I'll put your trash out," and you take whatever they have. Plus, they would give you a quarter, a couple dimes, or something like that,
Like Bucky used to do.
Yeah. And if you had, say, 10 or 15 of them, you made yourself a couple of bucks before you went off to school. But you made yourself a couple of bucks. But you had to give it to the old man, you know. You didn't keep
Yeah,
it. That
everything.
was all, everything went to the house, you know.
I heard
But I
this was a
didn't do
big
it.
wagon.
The old man made a wagon, they used to call it Mink the Railroad.
Mink the
Now
railroad?
don't ask me where the name Mink come in.
Mink?
Mink the
His
Railroad.
father.
The
Your
wheels,
father made it?
yeah, the
Mink?
wheels were iron wheels from a push cart. You know where they push the concrete and stuff?
Yeah.
So when where he was working, when the push carts were no good anymore, he would ask the boss for the wheels. And he would bring the wheels home, and then he'd have a blacksmith make an axle. So this wagon was like 3 foot wide, maybe 6 foot in length. Just rough boards, but made good and sturdy. And he'd have these axles made by the blacksmith. Of course, it'd be one whole piece all the way across, and put the wheels on them, and cotter pins on the end. So we used to take the wagon out at night and go down the hill. Would be a hill at 57 Westminster. Remember where the playground was?
Yeah.
And maybe 4 or 5 guys get in the wagon, a couple guys give a push, and down that hill you go. Then automobiles were starting to build up, coming down 57th Street. You couldn't stop the thing, you know. A lot of times they
Did you
run.
steer it?
Well, it had like a regular wagon. Had a, but the steering handle was like maybe 5, 6 foot in length.
For some
Steer.
reason, I thought this wagon, the way my dad
No,
described
is
it,
it?
was like 10 feet, 12 feet long.
No, it wasn't that big. I would say the body of it, like I said, it was maybe about 3 foot wide,
Which
and
is still
maybe a
big.
little longer than this table.
Uh,
And it was built out of boards, all 12-inch boards,
Uh-huh.
and all nailed together. Then he'd have that like a 2x8 joist. He nailed underneath, and that extended past the box part about 3-4 feet. That's what gave it the
Oh,
long
okay, that's
look.
why.
And then he'd have the 2 wheels up there, this long handle made out of a 2x4, and he made a hole in here, put a cross piece in there so you could hold your hand. Then you steered it like this, you know. We had a lot of fun with it, you know. Take it out at nights, and the old man used to get mad. He'd come back when he'd wake up in the morning, you'd see the wagons missing. He wanted to know where it was, you know, because sometimes if we didn't take it, some of the other guys would take it and go have fun with it. And, but then the old man cracked down on us and we couldn't get it out anymore. But then we didn't use it anymore. It stayed there for years.
I remember that
So
great
the-
big, in his yard, Grandpa's yard, and that great big grinding wheel.
Oh,
That he used to use to sharpen all the
boy,
knives and.
Boy, if I had the strength and the guts, I would have got rid of that thing. The old man used to sharpen, well, he sharpened saws for carpenters on the job. He must have had 200 different kinds of files. And he made this here saw bench. You put the saw in there and then you jam it with the wood. It was a regular saw bench made as like you go out and buy a workbench, or workmate, what they call. Well, this was just called a workbench. He made it, and he had 2 sticks coming out on the side. He lift them up and they would lock, and that would go up against the wall, giving distance away from the wall. Then he'd sharpen them saws. And every night he'd come home from work, he'd bring 2, 3, 4 saws with him, and he'd sharpen them for the carpenters. 50 cents a saw, 75 cents, whatever you can get. Chisels, the wood chisels, carpenters used to cut out the door hinges and all. They didn't, carpenters them days didn't have tools where you set on the door, route them out, and there was no such thing. Everything was hammer and chisel. So he used to come home and he had this great big wheel. And the more he used it, the smoother the stone got. So he would sit on one end of it, and seemed like I was the one that always had to turn it. And it didn't have a sleeve on there, that when you turn it, you just hold the sleeve, and your hand wouldn't burn. It was just like a rod. You know, the hand, it was thing that he bought. He didn't make that. And the stone was like 36 inches in round. And you had to turn it. So he would have hatchets to sharpen, big axe, carpenter's chisels. Man, that thing did a perfect job. But when the stone got too smooth, then he had a certain chisel, blood chisel. He used to chip the stone, turn it really good, chip it, give it a little bit of roughness. And when he did that, it made it harder for you to turn the thing because it grabbed more. But you should see them hatchets when it was done. Boy, you could almost cut a hair with it. That's how sharp he used to be. He was good at that.
I remember he used to do Nanny's knives.
Everybody's.
And I'd get out there and he'd say, tell me in Italian, you know, that you turn.
Did you turn that thing?
I'll tell you, 2 hands, and I'm
Well,
hardly
I'll
getting
tell
it
you,
going. He'd laugh. It was so funny
That
because,
was
I mean,
rough.
I wasn't very strong. I was only a little kid. And I know that was hard. It had the metal handle.
It was metal, but like I
Metal.
said, it had no sleeve.
Yeah,
on it.
no
Just-
sleeve. So
just
you
and when
just,
you went around,
just had to
it
go
turned
this
in your
way.
hand and you got blisters.
Now,
Oh, I used to get blisters from that darn thing.
I don't think I ever lasted one night. I don't think I ever
Oh
lasted
man, I
one
wish I
night.
could say that. That's a sin.
But I was little. So
I
he was
should
more or
turn-
less doing it for a joke for me, you know.
Yeah, I used to turn that thing and be an hour, 2 hours, boy, my hand with it. Then I started smarting up. I put cloth on there. So as I turned it, the cloth took the beating and saved my hand.
Mm.
But still, it was a job, turning that. It wasn't the most comfortable thing to do. But, and then making a water ice, we should turn it by hand. So you hold the lid had a big handle on it, and where the wooden handle went in was like a knob. The metal was shaped like a knob, like a marble. Only it was metal, aluminum. So you hold your hand on it and just turn it, and just turn and you developed a good speed.
See, now the rig 3-fingered Jack gave me was a stainless steel. It was 10-gallon drum. I'd set that in the barrel, put the rock salt and the ice around it. But the lid had a U-strap welded to the lid. And I would take the wooden scraper, stick it through the lid, top, and I'd use the
Oh
scraper.
yeah.
Spin it like that.
Well, my old man wouldn't do that because he didn't want to risk the chance of the lid coming off and something would fall in. See, on the tank, there was a knob there about an inch wide and extended out maybe a half inch. And when you put the lid on, the lid had that cut out, and they put it right there. So when you turned it, the whole tank would turn. Well, there was a wheel. You could attach your wheel to it as a gadget, but you had to get a special lid. And this special lid had adapter to it that had a gear. This lid had a gear on it. And this thing that you attached to it come out and had a handle. And all you did was turn that handle and that turned it. That's it.
Like the ice cream makers, like
Yeah.
the old ice cream makers.
And you turn and that the tank would go around. And that was simple. But then the people across the street